there. News on Arsenal's search for a goalkeeper to come too. But Mesut Ozil's representatives have commented on the situation regarding him today. Dharmesh, what's been said?
Look, in the past week or so, the agent of Mesut Ozil, Mikel Arteta, have both said in the next 7 to 10 days things should become clearer. As it stands, talks are continuing to try and get a deal done for Mesut Ozil to leave Arsenal. There are talks with Fenerbahce, of course. There are talks with DC United as well, among other clubs. It just seems that if he is to go in January, the most realistic destination for him would be Fenerbahce. The president of Fenerbahce spoke earlier on this week in that interview where he said, "We are closer than we were before to potentially getting a deal over the line." Now, what is interesting, Mesut Ozil's agent has deviated very, very slightly and subtly from what he said last week. You remember last week he said the priority for Mesut Ozil was to see out his contract at Arsenal, which would have meant £350,000 a week. Arsenal would continue to pay. He would leave on a free transfer in the summer and he could sign a pre-contract agreement in January. Now he says there are two alternatives. Number one is that same priority, staying until the summer, or to strike a deal to leave this month. Now, for that to happen, there would have to be compromises from Arsenal, potentially from Mesut Ozil as well, and from Fenerbahce. Because if, for example, Arsenal decided to loan Mesut Ozil out to Fenerbahce for the next 6 months of his contract, and then he would join them for free in the summer. That 6-month contract, he would still need paying that £350,000 a week, unless he would forego some of his wages, number one, and Arsenal decide we will pay the majority of those wages. So there's the compromise from Ozil and Arsenal, and potentially a compromise from Fenerbahce as well would be to make up the portion of those wages as well. So Arsenal would get some sort of rebate on the outstanding wages that are due to Mesut Ozil until the end of the season, because we're looking at £7 million worth of wages that he is due until the end of the season. If Arsenal can make any kind of saving on that, I think they will see that as a positive compromise with regard to Mesut Ozil leaving the club. Because remember, £350,000 a week is something that Fenerbahce simply couldn't afford. And Arsenal really don't want to be paying Mesut Ozil £350,000 a week if he's going to be staying at the club and not playing. But look, talks are continuing. There seems to be a more positive outlook with regard to how people are approaching questions about Mesut Ozil. As recently as a month ago, Mikel Arteta simply did not want to talk about it. Now he's more open to questions. The agent has spoken and the Fenerbahce president has spoken as well. There seems to be a little push towards that maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel and Mesut Ozil could finally leave Arsenal.
And is it a question of when, not if, he moves to Fenerbahce?
I don't think you can say that, no. I still think there's plenty of work to be done simply because of the amount of money that is involved and the contract that Mesut Ozil has. So if it was a question of when and not if, then you could say, why has this not happened sooner? Because Mesut Ozil has not played for Arsenal since March the 7th. He's going on to close to a year without playing any competitive football. So I think it's been dragged out long enough. But finally, just by the way people are talking just now, you just get the impression that maybe a deal can be done.
It just underpins a little bit of what Kaveh was saying the other day. You said that this was about money. Now, we were speaking to you behind the scenes, and Kaveh making the point there that he wasn't being critical of Mesut Ozil. He was simply stating that it was about the money. So that does seem to tally there, doesn't it?
I think it's the point we were trying to make the other night is that it's a sort of a negotiation between Arsenal and Fenerbahce to do with money. Nobody's accusing Mesut Ozil of being greedy. He has a contract of employment and he's getting paid what he is due from Arsenal, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. But if he wants to leave Arsenal, or if Arsenal want him to leave, then obviously they need to sit down and come to some agreement between Arsenal, between the player and his representatives, and also the club who would be interested in taking him on, whether it's Fenerbahce or DC United. I think the point that everybody in the game makes is that if you're a football fan, you want to see Mesut Ozil playing football again, because he is and has been such a fantastic player. And what everybody in the game wants to see, unless maybe if you're a Spurs fan, is to see him playing football again and playing well again. It's just doesn't feel right that somebody with his talent has been sitting on the sidelines for, what is it, 10 months now.
Kaveh makes a very good point there.
Wow.
I know, twice in a week, amazing. But you can look at this on two sides, because Mesut Ozil in some quarters might be perceived to be greedy. Why is he sitting on £350,000 a week? Why is he not playing? He's got, in his right, every right to see out his contract, because that's the contract the club have given him. If you flip it to the other side, say a player had 2-3 years left on his contract, and say he had the opportunity to go to a bigger club, for example, and he went to his club and said, I want to leave, let me join this other club. The club might say, no, you're under contract, you're staying. So it's against the player's wishes because he wants to be somewhere else, but so it can work both ways. So I don't think, publicly anyway, Arsenal haven't been very critical at all of Mesut Ozil. All they've said is that they want a deal to be done that is right for Mesut Ozil, but also right for Arsenal. And I think what would represent it being right for Arsenal is if they can somehow get some of that money off the wage bill. Even if it means Fenerbahce pay a small portion, that would be better than nothing, wouldn't it?